Today, we're looking at a deeply sobering explainer of an event that literally shattered a community in Northern California. We're going to be examining the timeline, the environment, and the unthinkable tragedy of a crime that unfolded in a place we all implicitly trust. The source material we're walking through today is titled The Silence Between the Books, and it meticulously reconstructs a harrowing evening where quiet study was interrupted by sudden chaos. I want you to prepare yourself as we examine the chilling timeline of what happened when an ordinary afternoon suddenly went dark. You know, libraries are supposed to feel safe. It's a universal expectation, isn't it? When you walk through those doors, you expect quiet pages turning. You expect soft footsteps. You expect to see people escaping into stories. It's a sanctuary. But on one particular evening, that silence broke. And nobody inside expected that an ordinary day would transform literally in an instant into a devastating crime scene. Chapter 1. An ordinary evening. Now, picture this cinematic juxtaposition. Outside, cars moved. The sky was slowly darkening as evening approached. But inside, people were sitting and reading. Someone was checking out books. A child laughed. People were simply doing what libraries are meant for, learning, waiting, existing. There was absolutely nothing unusual about this environment. And then someone walked in. No warning, no loud argument to alert anyone that tensions were high, no known connection. It was just a singular, sudden moment that nobody could take back. The complete lack of a preamble is exactly what makes this so incredibly unsettling. Chapter 2. Shattering the Silence. Witnesses later described a profound sense of confusion. As one witness noted, some thought something had fallen, others thought it came from outside. Because, well, our brains just don't immediately jump to the worst-case scenario when we're in a safe space, right? Many people simply didn't understand what they were hearing. Some rationalized the loud noises, thinking a heavy object or a stack of books had just fallen over. Others figured it had to be coming from outside the building. The emotional reality here is that their minds were desperately trying to make sense of the senseless. But that initial confusion didn't last. The reality of the situation rapidly cut through the denial. The sounds of heavy objects falling were quickly replaced. Then came screams. Then came the frantic calls for help. The narrative violently shifts right here, directly into absolute terror. So the crucial point to understand is how time completely stops making sense when panic erupts in a space meant for quiet study. 911 calls captured the raw panic echoing inside the building as police rushed to respond. The immediate reactions varied wildly, as they always do in unpredictable crises. People hid among the bookshelves. Some were paralyzed, just freezing in place. Others ran for the exits. Chapter 3. The 4-minute window. Let's move through this timeline and see how this builds, because this entire tragedy unfolded across an impossibly short time frame. Minute 1, the silence breaks without any warning. Minute 2, 911 recordings are already capturing sheer panic inside. Minute 3, responding authorities note the suspect attempting to leave through the back of the building. And by minute 4, the suspect is taken into police custody. The officers moved incredibly quickly. There was no long chase, no drawn-out standoff. But despite that rapid response, a horrific climax had already been reached. 2. That is the devastating human cost of those 4 chaotic minutes. 2 people lost their lives in a place where they just went to read, to study, to simply exist. Furthermore, a child was injured during this incredibly brief window. And while the child survived, the permanent, irrevocable damage had already been inflicted on these families and this entire community. The speed of the event does absolutely nothing to diminish the sheer magnitude of the loss. Chapter 4. Searching for answers. Investigators immediately began their search for answers, desperately trying to construct a motive. Why this specific place? Why target strangers? The authorities later stated in their final findings that investigators found absolutely no known relationship between the suspect and the victims. None. They were forced to continue examining possible influences and any evidence of planning, all while grappling with the community's desperate struggle to understand why violence would erupt where no personal connection existed. In the wake of this, the library closed its doors. Families waited in agony for answers that might never fully make sense. It's just a deeply tragic irony. A place built meticulously for housing, stories, a sanctuary of imagination and history, had violently become part of a very dark story itself. Chapter 5. The Hunting Aftermath. And this brilliantly, though tragically, illustrates a chilling realization about the lingering trauma left behind. As one quote puts it, people often imagine danger arrives loudly, but sometimes it enters quietly. It enters through the front door of a local library, leaving communities asking haunting questions long after the police tape is taken down and the lights are turned off. This building was filled with thousands of stories, but that day, an unthinkable one became devastatingly real. Which brings us to the final, most difficult question. What matters most after a tragedy like this? Should we focus on faster emergency response times, better prevention efforts, and physical security? Or must we prioritize community recovery, support, and understanding the psychological warning signs? Think about what we've covered today. How we heal and how we learn is what ultimately moves the conversation forward. Let us know what you think.